to burn, because you run around a fornicator, that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to burn.
Yes, sir.
So it's better if you want to do the things that married people do, is go and get you a wife. Let's go now. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter, 1 Peter 2. And this is why I encourage brothers to marry these sisters. And the sisters marry these brothers. They ask for your hand in marriage, marry them. 1 Peter 2 and 13. 1 Peter 2 and 13. Go ahead and read it.
Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake.
See? So submit yourself to every ordinance of man. Man says in this country that you have to have a marriage certificate. Y'all together, y'all supposed to have a marriage certificate. So you have to do this. Submit yourself to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake. Now in God's eyes, y'all saying, look, we married and everything, you my wife and all that. That's fine. In God's eye. But he says, submit yourself to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake, which means this country tell you to get a marriage certificate, then you get a marriage certificate.
Keep it simple.
That is your proof.
Yes,
that we together, we've been together for 7 years or 10 years, and whatever you got, I want some of it. Because otherwise, and I've seen it too. The young lady been with this guy, they didn't get that piece of paper. Helped him build the house and got all this furniture and you know, build a life together. He died, she lose it to his family members because that's not his wife. She didn't have her name on deeds and all this type of stuff as Mrs. So-and-so, having his last name. So therefore, you are just protecting yourself when you marry a man. You're protecting yourself. And vice versa. She might have all the money. You know, if you get a house, you want your name on that deed. You understand? Something happened to her, this is my house. Not that I want nothing to happen to her, but something happened to her, this is my house. Because if not, her family member can step in and say, well, look, your name ain't on this. And that was my daughter, or that was my granddaughter. Your name ain't on this. So therefore, get married. You know, in other words, do the right thing. This is right by the Lord. Do it. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
13.
Uh-huh.
Submit yourselves to every ordinance of man for the Lord's sake.
Uh-huh.
Whether it be to the king as supreme.
Go ahead.
Or to governors as unto them that are sent by him for the punishment of evildoers. And for the praise of them that do well.
To do what?
Do well.
And what is this? Verse 15.
For so is the will of God.
See, this is the will of God. That a man and a woman get married. That's the will of God. You understand? I'm not just standing up here and telling you, man, go ahead and marry a man. You don't get that piece of paper. No, this is the will of God.
Yes, sir.
Finish that.
For so is the will of God, that with well-doing ye may put to silence the ignorance of foolish men.
Now, let's go back to 1 Corinthians. I should have told you to hold your hand here. 1 Corinthians, the 7th chapter. 1 Corinthians 7, we're going to pick it back up where we left off in verse 10. Verse 10. 1 Corinthians 7 and 10. Everybody got it? Amen. Go ahead and read it.
And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband.
Because, you know, like I said earlier, you know, cat just walk off. Right? Some people, you know, they marry and they just walk off and think it's cool. And it's all right with the Lord, but it's not. He said, unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband.
But and if she depart, let her remain unmarried. Or be reconciled to her husband.
See, if she depart, let her remain unmarried or be reconciled to her husband. And Miss B's going back to your husband now. Going on back. Whoever was wrong, but you're going on back now. Go ahead and read.
And let not the husband put away his wife.
See, because God meant for you to be together forever.
Yes, sir.
So, and the Lord hate putting away. he hated.
It's written.
Go ahead and read.
12.
Uh-huh.
But to the rest speak, I not the Lord.
Uh-huh.
If any brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away.
Now, you know, she don't believe, but y'all comfortable together. Y'all, you know, good. As long as y'all ain't talking about that word of God, y'all cool. So, you know, y'all stay together then. Go ahead and read.
And the woman which have an husband that believeth not, if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him.
Let her not. You can't leave your husband because he eating pork. You just don't eat it.
Amen.
He want it, go ahead and let him go have his full of it. If he don't want to follow the word of God, that's on him. But other than that, y'all cool. Y'all supposed to stay. You can't leave them. That's it. Y'all stay together. Everybody understand?
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
14.
Uh-huh.
For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife. And the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband.
Go ahead.
Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy.
Keep reading.
But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases.
Now, if he want to depart, then he can go. If she want to go, let her go. Go ahead and read.
But God hath called us to peace.
Go ahead, verse 16.
For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband? Or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife?
See, you never know when your spouse is going to come and flip. You never know when they're going to flip. You know, you've been talking to them for years and years and years, and then 5th year they flip.
Amen.
You understand what I'm saying?
Amen.
And now, both of y'all in the Word of God.
Praise God.
So that's why the Lord wants you to stay together, because you never know. One of y'all might flip. Let's go now. Let's go to, and preferably that's what happens. Sometimes it takes the other spouse, longer than it took the one that's in it already. It might take them a little longer. It might take them a lot longer. But you stand there for the long haul, especially if you love this person. You don't want to see them go to fire, right?
Amen.
Let's go now. Let's go to 1 Peter the 3rd chapter. 1 Peter 3. 1 Peter 3, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. 1 Peter 3 and 1. Go ahead and read it.
Likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husband.
Be in subjection to your own husbands.
That if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation of the wives.
See, they might be won by the conversation of the wife. Sooner or later, your wife, she come and tell you, you ain't been listening. They ain't trying to hear that. Sabbath, I'll see you when you get home later. You understand? One day, she might start telling you something about the word of God, and next thing you know, you in church the next Sabbath. You won by the conversation of the wife.
While they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear.
Go ahead.
Whose adorning, let it not be that upward adorning of plaiting the hair, and of wearing of gold, or of putting on of apparel. But let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even an ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price.
Go ahead.
For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also, who trusted in God, adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord.
Now we know that, sisters ain't going to do this today. Call the man Lord. But that's all right, though. You're still supposed to be on subjection unto your husband. Go ahead and read.
Call him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement.
Keep reading.
Likewise ye husbands.
Likewise ye husbands.
Dwell with them according to knowledge.
Dwell with your wife according to knowledge. If you dwell with your wife according to knowledge, you all will probably stay together. If everybody played a role in that marriage, more than likely, y'all gonna stay together till one of y'all die. And you hear about it all the time. People been together for 50 years. Me and my wife been together now for 23 years. Go ahead and read, brother. Let me get away from that. Keep reading.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It says, likewise, these husbands dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel.
See, give honor unto the wife as a weaker vessel.
And as being heirs together of the grace of life. That your prayers be not hindered.
That your prayers be not hindered. Let's go now. Let's go to Colossians. Colossians, the 3rd chapter. We ain't got but a few more. Colossians 3. And we're going to pick it up at verse 18. Colossians 3 and 18. When you get it, go ahead and read it.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in the Lord.
Now you notice how it always starts off with, wives, submit yourself unto your husband. Then what does it say? Go ahead.
Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them.
Husband, love your wives, and be not bitter against them.
Children, obey your parents in all things.
Now we just gonna deal with the husband and the wife. So he said, look, he said, husband, love. It always starts off with, wives, submit yourselves unto your own husband as it is fit in the Lord. And husband, love your wives and be not bitter against them. You know, every time you see her, you bitter against her. You understand? You got something bad to say all the time. Let's go now. Let's go to Ephesians 5th chapter. That makes for a rocky and a bad marriage, that on it.
Yes, sir.
Ephesians 5 and 25. Ephesians 5 and 25. Ephesians 5 and 25. Go ahead and read it.
Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church.
Go ahead.
And gave himself for it.
Keep reading.
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies.
Now the man is supposed to love his wife as his own body.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourished and cherished it, even as the Lord the church.
See, that's what Paul said about a man beating on a woman and a woman beating on a man. You don't go in the mirror and start popping yourself in the face, do you? So you ain't supposed to be doing that to your wife then, because you all are one flesh. When you hit her, you hitting yourself, really?
Teach.
Everybody understand? Go ahead and read.
For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bone.
Go ahead.
For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife.
Go ahead.
And they two shall be one flesh.
And they twain shall be one flesh. Because that's what you are. One flesh. You all are one. Skip down to verse 33. Go ahead and read.
33. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular to so love his wife even as himself. And the wife see that she reverence her husband.
And the wife see that she reverence her husband. Let's go to Malachi. Malachi, the 2nd chapter. We got 2 more after this. Malachi, the 2nd chapter. Because like I said earlier, the Lord hate for you to put away your wife. Or hate putting away, a woman putting away, because a woman can put away her husband too. We had Malachi, the 2nd chapter, Malachi 2 and 13. Go ahead and read it.
And this have ye done again, covering the altar of the Lord with tears, with weeping, and with crying out. And so much that he regardeth not the offering any more, or receiveth it with good will at your hand. Yet ye say, wherefore? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth.
See, the Lord is watching. He is witness between you and the wife of your youth. He is watching this thing. He's watching your marriage. Go ahead and read.
Again, whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion and the wife of the covenant.
And the wife
of thy covenant.
Of thy covenant. Because when you get married, that's what you do. You come into a covenant.
Yes, sir.
And this here is a lifelong covenant.
Indeed. Indeed.
Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. 15.
Uh-huh.
And did not he make one?
Uh-huh.
Yet had he the residue of the Spirit.
Uh-huh.
And wherefore one? That he might seek a godly seed.
Uh-huh.
Therefore take heed to your spirit, and let none deal treacherously against the wife of his youth.
Uh-huh.
For the Lord, the God of Israel, saith that he hateth putting away.
He hateth putting away. Go ahead and read.
For one covereth violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts.
Uh-huh.
Therefore take heed to your spirit, and ye deal not treacherously.
He said, don't deal treacherously with the wife of your youth. Let's go to Proverbs, the 5th chapter, Proverbs 5, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. Proverbs 5 and 3. We got one more after this. Proverbs 5 and 3. When you get it, go ahead and read it. Proverbs 5 and 3. Go ahead.
For the lips of a strange woman drop as honeycomb.
See, you don't want to, be hooked up with no strange woman. You don't want to be hooked up with no strange woman. Go ahead and read.
Yes, sir. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb,
Uh-huh.
and her mouth is smoother than oil.
Go ahead.
But her end is bitter as wormwood,
Uh-huh.
sharp as a two-edged sword.
Sharp as a two-edged sword. Skip down to verse 8. Go ahead.
Remove thy way far from her,
Uh-huh.
and come not nigh the door of her house.
Go ahead.
Lest thou give thine honor unto others, and thy years unto the cruel.
Skip down to verse 15. Go ahead.
Drink waters out of thine own cistern,
Uh-huh.
and running waters out of thine own
You know
well.
what he mean when he said drink water out of, he said lay
Yes,
with
sir.
your own wife.
Yes, sir.
Drink water out of your own sister. You lay with your own wife. Don't be ravished with no strange woman.
Come on.
Drink water out of thy own sister and running water out of thy own well. Go ahead and read.
Let thy fountains be dispersed abroad,
Uh-huh.
and rivers of waters in the streets.
Go ahead.
Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee.
Go ahead.
Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth.
Let thy fountains be blessed and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Verse 19.
Let her be as the loving hind of the pleasant roe.
Uh-huh.
Let her breast satisfy thee at all
Let
times.
her breast satisfy thee at all times. Uh-huh.
And be thou ravished always with her love.
Be thou ravished always with her love. Go ahead, verse 20.
And why wilt thou, my son, be ravished with a strange woman,
Uh-huh.
and embrace the bosom of a stranger?
Go ahead.
For the ways of a man are before the eyes of the Lord,
Uh-huh.
and he pondereth all his goings.
Now, let's go to Mark, the 10th chapter. This is going to be last, Mark 10. And we're going to pick it up at verse 6. Mark 10 and 6. Everybody got it?
Amen.
This will be last. Go ahead and read.
But from the beginning of the creation, God made them male and female.
See, God made them from the beginning of the creation, male and female. What else he did?
For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother,
Uh-huh.
and cleave to his wife,
Uh-huh.
and they twain shall be one flesh.
And they twain, they two, shall be one flesh. Not they three or four and all that. He said they twain, they two shall be one flesh. Uh-huh.
So then they are no more twain, but one flesh.
They are no more two, but one flesh. Go ahead.
What therefore God hath joined together,
Uh-huh.
let not man put asunder.
Now, he said, what God have joined together, let not man put asunder. Don't let no man come and divide y'all.
Amen.
All right? So now that's the lesson, and I thank everybody for coming and listening. Thank you.